You shouldn't be here, Julian said, his voice sharp but trembling beneath control. His eyes stayed fixed on the photograph in her hand, the one showing him, 10 years younger, smiling beside a woman with Nora's same eyes. Nora didn't flinch. Her voice came out steady even as her hands shook. You knew her? You knew my mother this whole time? Julian's jaw tightened. For a moment, he looked like a man standing in front of a mirror he couldn't bear to face. It's not what you think. Nora let out a short, bitter laugh. Then tell me what it is, Mr. Ward. Because right now it looks exactly like a lie. He moved toward her slowly, each step echoing off the marble floor of the library. The storm outside rattled the windows, matching the storm inside the house. I didn't lie, he said finally. I just never told you. That's the same thing, she snapped. You let me talk about her as if you didn't even know her name. You watched me cry about the things I didn't understand, and you said nothing. Julian stopped just a few feet from her. His eyes softened for the first time that night. Your mother saved me, Nora. I owe everything I am to her. She froze. Saved you? He nodded. I was a lost kid with nothing. She gave me a chance, took me in, believed in me when no one else did. His voice cracked slightly, a fracture he couldn't hide. She's the reason I built any of this. Nora looked down at the photo again, the one she had found tucked behind an old book in the West Library. The edges were faded, but the truth was clear. Her mother stood beside Julian, laughing, her hand on his shoulder. A silence fell, the kind that makes the air feel heavier. Why didn't you ever tell me? She asked quietly. He exhaled, rubbing his temple like the truth hurt to hold. Because I didn't want you to think everything I did for you was out of guilt. Her chest tightened. So what was it then? Charity? Julian's voice lowered. No, it was because you reminded me of her. And that scared me more than I can explain. The words hung between them, fragile and dangerous. Nora wanted to speak, but emotion caught in her throat. She'd worked in that house for 3 years, cleaning, serving, invisible, while the man who owned it had known the truth all along. You should have said something, she whispered. You should have trusted me. Julian's gaze dropped. I didn't trust myself. He turned away, walking toward the tall window overlooking the gardens. Rain streamed down the glass like tears neither of them could shed. I told myself I was protecting you, he said. But maybe I was protecting me from feeling something I wasn't supposed to feel. Nora's pulse quickened. And what exactly were you not supposed to feel? Julian turned back to her. For the first time, his face wasn't cold, wasn't distant. It was raw, honest. Everything, he said softly. The clock in the hallway ticked like a heartbeat. Nora stepped back, unsure if she was angry, hurt, or something else entirely. You've had years to tell me this, Julian. I know. Years, she repeated, voice trembling. And all this time I thought I was just another employee to you. You were never just that. Then what was I, she demanded. His answer came like a confession. The only person who ever made this house feel like home. She looked away quickly, pretending to busy herself with the photo, but her hands betrayed her, shaking as tears threatened to fall. Julian took another step closer, his tone gentler now. Nora, I didn't mean to keep this from you. I thought if I did, you could live free from the shadow of the past. She met his eyes. You don't get to decide what I need to be free from. The words hit him like a slap. He deserved it. She moved toward the door, but he stopped her. Not by touch, just by the weight in his voice. Please, don't leave, not like this. Nora hesitated, her hand hovering near the doorknob. Why? So you can tell me another half-truth? No, he said. So I can tell you what I should have told you a long time ago. Her voice softened, but her guard stayed up. Then say it. Julian swallowed hard. I loved your mother, but not the way you think. She was my mentor, my family when I had none. When she died, I thought I'd buried that part of me forever. And then you walked into this house, and it felt like she'd sent you to remind me that I still had a heart. Nora's eyes shimmered. And you thought hiding it from me was love? No, he said, his voice almost a whisper. It was fear. Neither spoke for several seconds. Only the storm outside filled the silence, the kind that makes you hold your breath without realizing it. Julian finally took one step closer. Then another. His voice lowered. You can hate me for it, Nora, you probably should. But don't doubt for a second that everything I've done, every moment I've spent trying to ignore you, was because you mattered more than I was ready to admit. She wanted to look away, to stay angry. But something about the way he said it, broken, unguarded, made her feel the truth behind every word. Then you admit it, she said softly. He met her gaze? Yes, I do. The air thickened. Something fragile and powerful shifted between them, a current that neither of them could deny anymore. Before she could respond, lightning flashed and the lights flickered out. The room plunged into near darkness, only the dim glow from the fireplace painting their faces. The tension grew heavier, almost unbearable. Julian exhaled slowly. Seems like even the house wants us to talk. She almost smiled but caught herself. Talk about what? He looked at her for a long moment. About what happens next. If you're still here, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. There's more to this story than either of them are ready to face. Now back to it. Julian lit a candle, the flame casting a soft light between them. Nora's face looked different in the glow, stronger, braver. Tell me the truth, she said quietly. When you hired me, was it because of her? He shook his head. At first, yes. I saw your name on the application and thought it was coincidence. Then I saw your face and I knew. But the reason you stayed, that was all you. You earned every moment here. Nora searched his eyes for deceit, but all she saw was exhaustion, the kind that comes from carrying a secret too long. Do you ever think about what she'd say if she saw us now? Nora asked. He smiled sadly. She'd probably tell me I'm an idiot. She'd be right. They both laughed quietly, a fragile truce forming in the wreckage of truth. But somewhere deep inside, something else had begun, a warmth neither could ignore. The laughter faded as quickly as it came, leaving a silence that felt uncertain but alive. The candle flickered between them, its glow trembling against the walls. Julian looked down at his hands. You know, when your mother first met me, I was working out of an internet cafe. She said, don't build things to be admired. Build things that matter. I forgot that somewhere along the way. Nora leaned on the edge of the table. And now you build mansions so big you get lost in them. He gave a faint smile. Yeah, turns out success can be a very pretty cage. Outside, the storm started to fade into a soft drizzle. The house creaked like it was listening. Nora said quietly, You could have told me sooner, I might have understood. I was afraid you'd walk away before I got the chance to make things right, Julian said. You're the only part of this place that feels real anymore. She studied him, this man who had always seemed so untouchable, and saw the exhaustion behind his posture. Then what's the point of all of this? She asked. If you have everything but still look like you're waiting for something that never comes? He looked up. Maybe I was waiting for honesty. The words landed heavier than either expected. Nora swallowed hard. So what happens now, Julian? You tell me this truth and then what? I just go back to cleaning the rooms and pretending none of it matters? He shook his head. No, you shouldn't have to pretend anything anymore. Something about the way he said it made her chest tighten. Then what do you want from me? I don't know, he admitted. Maybe I just don't want to lose the only person who talks to me like I'm human. Nora hesitated, torn between anger and empathy. You think words fix everything? You kept the one thing that mattered most about my past locked away, and now you want forgiveness? I'm not asking for it, he said quickly. I'm asking for a chance to prove that I can be better. His tone carried no arrogance, only sincerity. It startled her. For a moment, she just looked at him, unsure whether to believe him or not. Prove it how? Let me help you find the rest of her things. The letters, the recordings, whatever's left. You deserve to know who she really was, not just who you remember. Nora folded her arms. And why would you want to help? Because I owe her. And maybe helping you is the only way I can repay that debt. Her expression softened, but she didn't move closer. If we do this, it's not for you, it's for her. Agreed. They stood there, a silent agreement forming between them. It felt dangerous, but honest. Julian opened a drawer and pulled out a small metal key. She kept a box in the old greenhouse. I never opened it. I couldn't. Nora frowned. Why? He looked away, because it felt like opening a wound I wasn't ready to face. She took the key and looked at it, her reflection trembling on its surface. "Then maybe it's time," she said. He nodded once. Tomorrow morning. When she left the library, Julian stayed behind. He stared at the photograph again, whispering to the empty room, "I'll fix this, Clara. I promise." Morning came gray and heavy with fog. Nora walked across the garden path, the wet gravel crunching under her shoes. The greenhouse stood ahead, abandoned, its glass panels clouded with dust. Julian was already there, sleeves rolled up trying to force the rusted door open. When it finally gave, the scent of soil and old air filled the space. Nora stepped inside first. "She used to bring me here when I was little," she said softly. She said every plant was a reminder that things grow back after winter. Julian smiled faintly. "Sounds like her." In the corner sat a wooden chest, its brass lock tarnished but intact. Nora's heartbeat quickened as she slid the key in. It turned with a soft click. Inside were faded letters, a leather journal, and an envelope marked for Julian. Nora's hand hovered above it. "It's yours," he hesitated. "You should read it too. Maybe it's time we both did." She nodded. They opened the envelope together. The letter inside was written in her mother's neat handwriting. "Julian, if you're reading this, I'm gone. You always said you'd pay me back one day, but I never wanted your money. Just promise me you'll remember what we talked about. People are not investments. Don't lose yourself trying to be someone the world respects. One day someone will remind you who you are. When that happens, don't run from it." Nora blinked fast, fighting tears. Julian's hands shook as he folded the letter back. "She knew," Nora whispered. "She knew we'd meet." "Maybe she hoped we would," he said quietly. They sat there for a while, the silence between them no longer painful but full of something new, understanding. Nora looked around the greenhouse. "All this time you carried her words but forgot to live them." He nodded. "I guess I did." "Then start now," she said. "Do something that matters again." He met her eyes. "Help me figure out how." "You could start by being honest. With your board, your employees, yourself. Stop hiding behind contracts and numbers." He gave a short laugh. "You make it sound simple." "It isn't," she said, "but it's real." The light began to filter through the fog, hitting the glass panels until the room glowed softly around them. Julian said, "Maybe this is what she meant by growing back after winter." Nora smiled for the first time that day. Maybe. They left the greenhouse together, walking side by side. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was the first step toward it. If you're still watching, drop a comment with second chances so I know you're with me through this story. And don't forget to like the video if you want to see how Nora and Julian's choices play out next. Back inside the mansion, Julian called his assistant and canceled his afternoon meetings. "Tell them I'm taking the day to rebuild something that actually matters," he said. Nora passed by the doorway and paused. "You mean it?" He nodded. "Yeah. For the first time in years, I mean it." She gave him a look that mixed disbelief with a hint of hope. "Then maybe there's hope for you after all," he smiled. "Coming from you, that's practically a miracle." For the first time since the storm, sunlight spilled through the mansion windows, throwing long stripes of gold across the floor. Neither of them said it out loud, but both felt the same quiet thought. Maybe, just maybe, the past didn't have to define what came next. That afternoon, the mansion felt different. The corridors that once echoed with emptiness now hummed with quiet activity. Staff who had long learned to walk on eggshells exchanged uncertain smiles. The air itself seemed lighter. Nora stood at the bottom of the staircase watching sunlight spill through the tall windows. She half expected the moment to fade like a dream, but it stayed. Julian came down the stairs, sleeves rolled, a folder in his hand. "I told the board I'm changing the company's model," he said. "No more projects that strip communities for profit. We'll rebuild the local tech school instead, your mother's idea." Nora blinked, caught off guard. "You're serious?" He nodded. "Completely. You once said money without purpose is a cage. I think I finally understand that." A faint smile tugged at her lips. "I didn't think you actually listened." "I listen more than you think," he said quietly. They stood there for a beat, neither sure how to bridge the new distance, the one not made of power or guilt, but of possibility. Nora finally said, Then maybe you should listen one more time. Go outside, walk where she used to walk. See what you've been missing?" He hesitated, then nodded, and they stepped out onto the terrace. The garden glistened after the rain, every leaf holding a drop of gold. For a long time they said nothing. The silence wasn't heavy now, it was peaceful. Julian exhaled. "You ever wonder why people like me build walls so high?" "Because you're afraid of falling," she said simply. He looked at her, almost surprised by the accuracy. "And you?" "I got used to climbing other people's walls just to survive." A small laugh escaped him. "Guess that's why you were the only one who could find a way through mine." She shook her head. "Don't make me your miracle, Julian. Just make sure everything you're changing, doesn't end when it's no longer convenient." He gave a solemn nod. "You have my word." They walked slowly down the stone path. Near the end stood a small bench her mother had once used. Julian stopped and placed the folded letter there, weighing it down with a smooth river stone. "For her," he said, "for every promise I forgot." Nora watched him, seeing not the billionaire the world talked about, but a man trying to start over. "She'd be proud," she whispered. He turned to her. "Maybe, but I think she'd be prouder of you." The words hit deeper than she expected. She looked away, blinking hard. "Don't say things like that unless you mean them." "I do." A long pause stretched between them. Then quietly she said, "You know this doesn't erase what you kept from me." "I know," he replied, "but maybe it's a start." She nodded. "Then start right." He smiled faintly. "With honesty?" "With honesty," she repeated. The camera of the mind's eye would linger there. Two figures in a washed-out garden, past and present balanced on the same stone bench, neither heroes nor villains, just people learning how to begin again. As they turned back toward the house, the sun broke fully through the clouds, lighting the mansion in gold. For the first time, it looked alive. If this story kept you watching to the end, hit like so I know you felt it too. Drop a comment with what you think Nora should do next, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories about second chances, courage, and finding light in unexpected places.